Hello and welcome to interest.co.nz. I'm Janae Tibshirani and today I'm talking digital currencies with Auckland University's Commercial Law Head of Department, Associate Professor Alex Sims. Thanks for joining us, Alex.
That's all right.
Alex has been leading a research project on regulating digital currencies like Bitcoin. While this may still sound a little far-fetched, it isn't. The Australian government last week announced plans to reform the country's anti-money laundering laws to bring digital currency providers under the remit of its Financial Intelligence Agency. Japan and China have already made similar moves. Alex, do we need to follow suit?
Well, if Australia go, we tend to follow, and we do need it because there is a lot of uncertainty in New Zealand, so having some certainty would be very beneficial.
Okay, and I mean, when it comes to regulating digital currencies, what does this actually mean?
Well, it depends. I mean, devil is always in the details. So what it would be, I mean, at the moment you can use digital currencies. There is no law against it. But in practice, businesses aren't able to accept digital currencies because if they do, they get their bank accounts closed down. The one exception is that you can get Visa or MasterCards that are loaded with cryptocurrencies, and that's Visa and MasterCard who are doing it, so you can go and use it and get money out. But that very, very few people have those. So with regulating it, I think it's a good move, but it depends how the regulations play out.
Okay, sure. So it sort of legitimises it.
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
It definitely would legitimise it.
Okay. And, you know, this is the interesting thing, actually, just how fast this stuff is moving. Because as you're saying, Visa and MasterCard have given it the tick of approval. They're building it into their systems. Is New Zealand far behind in terms of regulating it or the government acknowledging that this is happening?
Unfortunately, we are very far behind. And most people are surprised because when I talk to people around the world, they say, oh, well, New Zealand, it's always prides itself for being advanced. But unfortunately, I don't know what happened, but we really dropped the ball. So Australia, for example, is a good 2 to 3 years ahead of us. Even England, the English government's pushing it. So we're behind, but we can catch up. So for example, we can follow what Australia are doing, and some government departments in New Zealand are looking very, very, very closely at what Australia are doing. Okay.
And look, when we talk about digital currencies, people sometimes just fixate on Bitcoin or something because it's the main one. But can you just explain to us how digital currency is sort of a starting point for this whole sort of new world of blockchain or this different type of technology that makes doing business much easier?
Okay, well, there's a number of things.
Question, yeah.
Okay, so let's just start at the beginning. When people use digital currencies, in fact, we've used that in our title of our project, and it's a bit misleading. It should really be cryptocurrencies, because in truth, our fiat currency, which is our normal money we use, really is digital. So most of it is residing in ones and zeros on computers. So the actual hard banknotes are only about 4 or 5% of the money in circulation. So really what we're talking about, cryptocurrency, and it is a step change from our ordinary money. So I heard someone the other day say the difference between fiat currency, ordinary money, and cryptocurrencies is like the Flintstones to Star Trek. That is the difference. Now, Bitcoin was the first, so most people know about Bitcoin, but that's just one. And in fact, Bitcoin is probably not the best payment vehicle.
Okay.
There are a lot of other ones, and the trouble with Bitcoin is it takes so long for transactions to go through. So you're looking, sometimes you might have to wait for 40 minutes for a transaction to go through, which you might say, well, that's okay if I'm sending money to the other side of the world, but if you want to go and buy a cup of coffee, that's not going to work.
Sure.
So there's lots of other ones. There's Litecoin, there's Dash, but one in particular is called Ether or Ethereum, and this is what I think you were alluding to before, is that yes, we've got cryptocurrencies, but we've also got this whole new thing called blockchain. And a lot of people are wanting to use that in a whole range of different industries. For example, shipping, so you actually know what is going on, what is in the containers, where those containers are, and also when the containers arrive somewhere, that automatic payments can be made for insurance also, so that you can have what we call a smart contract. So it's a self-executing contract. So say you've got your car and it's insured and it's on a smart contract. There can be a thing that if it has an accident and the police reports are generated, then automatic payment made to you without any humans. So it's sort of, it will fundamentally change a whole lot of areas. But for us to do that, for these great advances to occur, then we actually need some payment mechanism. And in fact, to set those smart contracts up so that they work, you need what we call Ether, which is a cryptocurrency, to make it work, and also the payments to make it work as well.
Right, I see. So and if we want to move ahead in this direction where we're cutting out the middleman, we're automating transactions, and Maersk, for example, has taken this up, then acknowledging that we have a sort of a legalised digital currency or currencies is a first step.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And just on that, in England and Australia, both governments are pushing this. And it's not just for businesses. They've realised that they can dramatically improve their processes, their service, their delivery, while reducing costs. So they've already trialled paying benefits in England using this. Also things like fundamental things, which haven't changed for years, like our land registry system. We could have all our property, so houses and other things, actually on blockchains. And so that when you go to buy and sell, you can do that without a lawyer, so the lawyers won't like this, and make the payment, and automatically you're now the owner, and you're there, and your ownership can't be, no one can tamper with it. It is there, but plus you can get all the other benefits. So at the moment, if you want to go buy a house, for example, you've got to go to the council, and there's all this information held in all different places. But if it was all on the blockchain, it would revolutionise so many different things.
Yeah. But this is the interesting thing, isn't it? So we've got these big companies which are really taking this up. Maersk, Microsoft doing work, banks are doing work on this as well, using blockchain, which is the technology to start looking to implement this. But I mean, this is a huge disruptor, and I hate to use this word because it's really overused, but if we're talking real disruption, this is huge. Banks, lawyers, they must be a little bit nervous about this.
The banks are.
Yes.
Some, though, for example, the Commonwealth Bank, are actually investing a lot of money in it because they can see how it can improve their own processes. SWIFT, the interbank payment system, international one, it's looking to use blockchain as well. So the thing is, you can either resist it or actually use it to the benefit. But one of the sort of the worries at the moment is that there's been a lot of, in New Zealand at least, and some extent in Australia, of the banks using their positions to put obstacles in the way of startups to be able to use this. And that's very, very short-sighted. Sure.
So that's all in the name of this anti-money laundering legislation. They're saying that actually if we bank with these tech people doing this cryptocurrency stuff, then that could undermine our anti-money laundering sort of framework. Yeah. So do you think that they're actually taking that a bit far?
Yes. No, because why I say that is that if I go into a bank and a shop, and I want to buy a pair of shoes for a couple of $100, if I walk in with $200 in cash and pay for it, no questions asked. I get it, and the bank's not asking any questions. Whereas if I go into the same shop and I want to use a cryptocurrency, and the bank and the shopkeeper wants to accept it, then they can't, because the bank will, if it finds out, it will debank it. Now, what is the difference? And what is sort of ironic is that cryptocurrencies, most of them, actually far more traceable than cash. So cash, if you get the money, you don't know where it's come from. Whereas with cryptocurrencies, you can look back, look at all the transactions and find out exactly where it is.
Yeah.
And so like some people have been saying, well, you'd be stupid to buy drugs or anything illegal with Bitcoin. Because you can be traced.
It's traceable.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So if we bring this back to government and what it needs to do you think the Reserve Bank could issue a cryptocurrency or digital currency for New Zealand? Is that a good idea, or is it just good if we get some legislation around some of the international, I guess, or decentralised currencies that we already have?
Well, I think that we need regulation around the decentralised ones, so like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dash, all of those. But we also, I think, the writing's on the wall. Okay, reserve banks all around the world and central banks are looking at this. So they're working on it in Canada, they're working it on the UK, China, because the technological advances are compelling. So, which is extraordinary from something that only came up sort of under 10 years ago. So yes, it's going to happen. The question is when, but we should start looking at it now. And again, the devil is in the detail, because there's a big difference between what the Canadians are working on and what the UK is working on. And the other thing with it is, depending how it's set up, it could actually cut the retail banks out.
Yeah.
So this is a reason why the retail banks should be working with people to actually get a bit of the action, otherwise leave it too long and the Reserve Bank could cut them out.
Right. Alex, that's a great place to leave it. No doubt, there's so much happening in the space, so it'll be interesting to see the different approaches that some of the key players in our economy actually take to this, and to see the direction that we run on. So thank you so much for your time coming in. And I'm Janae Tibshirani from interest.co.nz.